This is my desk setup. I've worked really hard to make it look as simple as possible. It's basically my display, a keyboard, and a mouse. And that's kind of it. That simplicity makes it easier for me to work because I don't have clutter, I don't have distraction. It's just exactly what I need. But what you initially see on my desk is actually just the beginning. You know, because of what I do, making these videos and doing a bunch of other media related tasks, I need a bunch of different peripherals. I need SSDs, I need SD cards and other card readers. At times I have used multiple monitors. I need to plug in different Thunderbolt cables for different accessories like my RAID arrays. And in order to do all those things and use all those products and keep this setup as clean as possible, well, that's where a great dock comes in. And it's also where this video sponsor, iVANKY, and their FusionDock Max 1 comes in. This is the ultimate dock for your Mac laptop. Now, iVANKY has been around for a while. At this point, they've been making different accessories and cables that, you know, are really high quality and work great. But this is kind of the next step of that journey. And now with FusionDock, iVANKY is kind of positioning themselves as the premier brand for MacBook accessories. Like if you need a dock for your MacBook, they want to be the first place you look, and I think they should be. Now there's one thing to keep in mind about this FusionDock before we, talk about everything else about it, and that's that it is specifically made for Macs with Apple Silicon. So if you have an Intel Mac, this dock just isn't going to work, but it provides some features for your Apple Silicon Mac that just aren't really possible with most other docks. And it does this by using this special cable. This is a Thunderbolt 4 cable, but if you notice, there are 2 Thunderbolt ports on each end. And that's because built into the FusionDock, there are dual Thunderbolt 4 chips. And that means that it is going to give you a ton of I/O possibilities because you're not relying on one port on your Mac, you can now use 2. Now, luckily, they include this cable in the box, and that still gives you a 1 cable setup. You just plug it into 2 ports instead of 1. It's kind of interesting. I've never done that before, but it works well. And with this, you kind of unlock a bunch of different possibilities. This has 20 ports built in. So if there's something you need to do that you want to plug in, this can handle it. And because it's using those dual Thunderbolt chips, it also has the power to do that. So, I mean, there's a few things you can do with this. I think the most obvious one with all these different ports is that you can attach multiple monitors very easily. Whatever your Apple Silicon Mac can handle, you can plug into this dock and run it no problem. And it can go up to 6K at 60 Hertz. So for me, my Pro Display XDR here, it runs this no problem. And it has USB-C ports for those monitors, or you can use HDMI. So it doesn't really matter what kind of monitor you're using, should still be able to work just fine. And because it's using those dual chips, you're also not going to be lacking on any of those transfer speeds. You're not really going to notice the USB port on your computer get overloaded and kind of slow down and throttle, which can happen if you kind of plug too many things into it. This shouldn't have as much of an issue with that. You're still going to get those super high speeds, and it has all the ports that you pretty much can need. So on the back, there are 4 40 gigabit USB-C ports, 2 of those with 96 watts of power delivery for plugging in your laptop and charging it. Then you get 2 HDMI 2.0 ports. I will say it would have been nice to see those HDMI ports be HDMI 2.1 ports rather than 2.0, but at least you do get 2 of those HDMI ports instead of just 1. And then you get 3 10 gigabit USB-A ports, and you get a 2.5 gigabits per second Ethernet port. So if you're doing networking or connecting to like an external drive over a network and want to plug in hardwire, for instance, I do video editing, and that is something that is very common is, having an external array that I connect over Ethernet or I can connect through over the network. Having this is just going to be faster than your typical 1 gigabit port. And then for audio, you have a 3.5 millimeter line out port, or you can use Toslink if you wanted to use that as well. That's built in here. And that's not it. There are more ports on the front. So here you have 2 more 40 gigabit per second USB-C ports. And then next to that, you have 2 more USB-C ports. These are only 10 gigabits per second, but they have 30 watt power delivery. So it's great for charging. And above that, you have another 2 USB-A ports with 10 gigabits per second write speeds. And then next to that, you have a 3.5 millimeter combo jack. And below that, you have your micro SD and SD card reader. That is a lot. Now, like I said, this is my setup, and I'm using the FusionDock to power everything. So my computer right now is the pretty much fully spec'd out M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro. I've been using this since it came out and it still works really well. And with that, I'm attached with that special Thunderbolt cable to the FusionDock. And from there, I am powering my Pro Display XDR. And that's kind of like the base setup. This is what's always here, but I am also powering a few different things as well. So one is a bunch of different SSDs when I'm editing these videos. I like to use, for instance, the Samsung T7 Shield. That's kind of the SSD of choice for me. And I plug those in pretty much all day whenever I'm working on a project like this. So those are pretty much always plugged in. And because of all the different ports, I'm actually able to use multiple of them at the same time if I ever need to, just depending on what projects are where. And that is really handy because that's not something I've necessarily been able to do, or at least been able to do at the highest speeds, but now I can. And then I also have this, which is my CF Express card reader. And I use this because I shoot with the Canon R5 as my second camera, and that I shoot to a CF Express card because it just is faster for the file write speeds. But I need a reader separate from that, and that plugs in over USB-C just fine. So all of these products are plugged in most of the time, all in this dock, and it just makes using all of them so much easier. I don't have to be, unplugging and plugging into the MacBook itself. I can kind of have everything plugged in to the dock, and then when I need my MacBook on the go, I can just unplug that one cable and I'm ready to go. And the same thing when I get back home, plug it back in and I'm back up and running. It's what docks have done for the longest time, but this one just gives you power that we've never really had before. So yeah, that is the iVANKY FusionDock Max 1. I'm really enjoying it. If you're looking for a dock, this is probably the first place I'd look. And if you want to check out more about it, I'll leave links down below in the description where you can pick one up for yourself. So check it out and see if those ports are something you can use.